And someone can just let me know. I don't have the YouTube feed up if it's actually showing that we're live.
You guys all look so good.
I love it.
For you, the lipstick.
Are we live? Let me see.
I'm just shiny. I just got in from a walk, so.
Nice.
Yeah, you're live.
I tended okay, we're live. Okay, good. Hello, everyone. I am Charles. This is my channel, Books on Stereo, and we're here to talk about The Devil You Know trilogy by Kerrigan Byrne with Kerrigan Byrne. So before we get into the books, I will have all my co-hosts introduce themselves. If you can tell us your channel name, and let's see which book is your favorite in the trilogy to start us off. So I'll start with you, Samantha, and then we'll go in that order.
Okay, cool. Hi, my name is Samantha. My channel name on YouTube and Instagram is Books with Samantha. My favorite in the trilogy was All Scott Unbothered. I just love a hunky Scott, and I think this is my favorite Kerrigan Byrne book, like, of all time. So yeah, love that one.
Hi, I'm Jessin, and I'm from Jessin Reads Romance. I also have a podcast, Smart Women Read Romance, and that's my Instagram handle. My favorite is also All Scott Unbothered because the hero is just like so smoldery, and definitely my favorite. Ramsey just like, yeah, he can get it.
Well, hi, I'm Lacey. My Instagram and YouTube is Lacey Book Lovers, and my favorite is also All Scott Unbothered. Seems like everyone's favorite, but I love the whole curvy heroine, this huge, thick Scott who just worships her. It was great.
Hi, I'm Carrie from Book for Romance. I feel like I get to hang out with Kerrigan like every other week, so I feel very lucky to like be here and get to hang out with my girl. And I am so excited. I've read all three, and I'm gonna have to say number one was my favorite because of the heroine and like how much she had to overcome, and just what an awesome character you wrote in this. I just loved it to death. Yeah. So, yeah, How to Lose a Duke in 10 Days.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I go by Neverland Pixie on Instagram. My favorite was All Scott and Bothered, right there, right there. My overall arching thing that I love about the trilogy is the sisterhood, and we need to make Red Rogue cloaks a thing, like pink ladies have jackets. It should be a thing.
I would love that so much.
Hi, my name is Meg, and my channel is By the Book, and I'm the same. I like the first one. Like, Alex is just unrivaled. Like, while I did enjoy the other two, like, they couldn't quite compete with Alex.
Okay, and I realized I didn't even say which one my favorite is. I don't have a favorite. I love them all equally. I get to cop out. I get to choose a cop out. It's my life. So come at me. So first, let's dive into How to Love a Duke in 10 Days. I always forget the title of this one, Kerrigan. I was like, what is the first book? I was like, I feel like it's like How to Lose a Duke in 10 Days, like the movie, like How to Lose a Guy. So I'm like, that's not the title. But yes, let's talk about this one. What is everyone's overall thoughts and questions?
You don't have to be nice. I'll la 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 for a while.
No, we all love the books. We all love the books. This is probably, compared to Victorian Rebels, I like this series a little bit more. Okay. Which is, but because I love the three heroines. I love them so much.
I'm so glad.
So I'm impartial. I'm impartial to this series.
I can't decide if I like Victorian Rebels series better or this one, because they're both have such strong elements that I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's things I could talk about Victorian Rebels for days, and then there's things about the Red Robes I could talk about for days. So it's like a girl gang and a guy gang. You know what I mean? It's like two different types. I don't know. I loved them both.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I loved it. I couldn't stop loving. I love the sisterhood that you created. I love this like secret society, this place of refuge that they built, and they subscribe to these more what we would consider masculine, characteristics, and they have this code of honor among friends. And they don't subscribe to the societal norms for women. And I really loved that. Oh.
That was my favorite part about writing them, I would say. It was just, I don't know, I wanted a good feminist series. So I was feeling it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a
definitely
favorite, or are they all kind of like your babies?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a favorite, or are they all kind of like your babies?
That's a good question. I would say the first one was my favorite too, just because I got to play with like archaeology and anthropology, and history and that kind of thing. And it's just like kind of tickles my id, It was kind of like what I get nerdy about. So that was a lot of fun for me.
Okay. So I think I first want to start off with the prologue. Like all the prologues in these books, I was like, Carrie, I felt like messaging you, Kerrigan. I'm like, who hurt you? Like all these prologues are so sad.
Like yeah, I was not expecting that kind of.
I was
prologue.
not expecting. I was just like, oh, I was like, see, this is why I like you, Kerrigan. Like you just go right into it. I was like, we're gonna go right into the prologue. We're gonna, just break our hearts and then help us put it together by the end.
And friend group to the test. Will you bury the body?
Will you bury the body? Yeah. That's right.
Exactly.
We all say we will, but will we actually show up and do it? Will we bury the body? Yeah. So no, I just I think I've taken a little flack for it, I think, for the prologue and for some of the things that I've written about. But I get so into books and shows that have that a little bit of moral ambiguity like that, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of other people do as well. Like I don't think Game of Thrones or Dexter or anything like that would have taken off if people weren't like, you know what, I want to see a little bit of the dark stuff.
Right.
Because it makes the overcoming it maybe that much sweeter. Not that it, but I totally get if it triggers some people or they're uncomfortable. We all have our comfort level, but.
I appreciate that he got the slice. I just was always forgiven because he got the slice. And I was like, yes, rock on.
Just kill it.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that he found out about her incident was just like so heart-wrenching to me, and then he just destroys that whole room because he just can't fathom it of like that happening to her, and then him walking through what happened, like how he reacted to certain things. It just like, you got me, you like literally got me. You walked me down that road and I was just like, you had me at hello type thing. You know what I mean? So good. So good.
Yeah. I almost prefer like the darker prologues because it's like a Phoenix Rising vibe where they're like broken down and you just root for them the entire book. And I feel like the Happily Ever After is more sweet because it feels like not like earned it, but it feels like they deserve it. Like this is what we needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Like in the beginning, it's like the hard part. It's not like the hard part's over, but it's like, okay, here's the dark part, and like let's move on to like the happier times. Let's get to the HEA, and like you can kind of like enjoy that a little bit because it's like, okay, now we know what the trauma is, and now we can go on to the healing. And so I really enjoy that. I mean, I definitely think of angst whenever I think of Kerrigan Byrne, and also Secret Identity. So I'm always like, okay, I'm definitely gonna do it.
I'm kind of writing one right now, and I'm like, I would really like to write a book for a while that didn't have 20 names for one of the characters or whatever. I do realize that I have been relying on that for a bit, and I'm like, do you know what? The next couple books I write, everybody's just gonna be who they are. They're just gonna wake up the same person every day. Had it with this.
Just give them a little nickname.
It works. Like these heroines propel the plot. It's not in stagnation. I know I'm going to continue going on. Like I really, I live for you. I'm going.
I just wanted to, I don't mean to interrupt everybody, but like, I feel like I know all of you because I see so many of you online all the time, and I'm getting to like see faces with names, and it's so great. So great. I feel like we interact anyways. So you're all here, and that's wonderful. So
I was just waiting to see like if you could connect this to the Victorian rebels. Like, is this like another like someone related to Dorian, or like is it like halfway through the book where it's like a twist? Like, ha ha ha! It's actually related.
It's a little bit later, so that they could have telephones and stuff. So I thought about it, and I think even in one of the books, I kind of brought up Morley a little bit, but as someone who's kind of in the past a little bit in the past. But yeah, no, I wanted these to be books about women who could be whole people and live a whole beautiful life without any men in them. Like that love was something that happened to them, and this was the parts of their lives that they fell in love and all of that. But like even with everything that Alexandra went through, if Piers never would have come into her life, she had a really full life. She had passion. She had a job. You know, I mean, he saved her from a really bad financial situation, but like she didn't need him because she had her friends. You know, she had her friends, and she could be a whole person without falling in love. And that was important to me to write that sometimes. You know.
I also love how you like spun the twist to these two. Like I feel like each book had like a twist, and it's like, where's the twist coming? I know there's a twist here because Kerrigan won't leave you hanging without a twist. And every time you did it, you're like, yep, that's it. It was the friend, or it was whoever, or it was, you know, I just
the reveal of like who was a blackmailer all along. You're like, wait, right? I was like, okay, like I was like, I like that. I like that twist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always like the most dramatic whenever I read those. I'm like, oh, what? Like, how did I not see that?
How did I not see that coming? Yeah. I never see any of your plot twists. Like, even if you broadcast it a mile away, I'm like, oh wait, wow, I did not see that coming whatsoever. And you could tell me on page 1, this is the person who did it. I was like, no, that's a red herring. It's not gonna be that easy.
Yeah, you do the suspense part really well. Like, even though I love the romance, I'm hooked onto the suspense and just want to keep reading for it.
Good. Thank you. That's my first love. I love mysteries. And I love to read mysteries. And every time I am reading a mystery, I'm like, I wish this had a little bit of romance in it. Or even if it has a tiny bit of romance in it, I'm like, I wish it had kind of some sex on the page. Like, I really like a good crossover, you know? Like, I want a mystery. I love them. I grew up on Agatha Christie, you know, and I love Margaret Atwood and Gillian Flynn and all of that. Like, I'm really into it, but I just want both. I want both. Right. So.
Yeah. And I live for your one-word sentences in the steam. Whenever it's coffee, leather, I can smell it. I can smell the sweat, the sounds. I'm like, Kerrigan! I love that.
Oh my goodness. I love that so much.
When you use cacophony, I'm like, now we're getting somewhere. Let's go. Yeah.
It's on.
I think this is a good time to segue into what I think most people's favorite book is. All Scott and Bothered.
That was a good one.
I feel like this like collectively like everyone really loves this book, so let's get into it. Prologue is heartbreaking again. Yeah. But it wasn't as heartbreaking once we get to the third book. That was like, I was like, Kerrigan, like I need like give me like one chapter to get acclimated. but I was like these openings. I was like, if I was these heroines, I would be messed up for life. I'd be like, I'm good. I don't need no romance. Like, let me just go in my closet and let me hide.
Well, she was locked in a room for how long? Like, was it 2 days? I forget. Like, how long was she locked in that room for?
I think it was 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
I'm literally crying on page 1. Like, how?
Sorry, I feel very cruel.
No, but we love it. That hello.
Like, that's what
you
I'm
make
here
it
for.
work.
I can
What
just
do you guys think
imagine
of, like, the
the
whole-
evil laughter as you're typing the scene. You're like, wahaha.
Stressed. I get a little bit stressed because I have moments where I'm like, okay, I feel like I threw the whole kitchen sink at the Victorian rebels, and my editor was kind of like, you know, you're sort of getting known for like these tortured heroes or you know, really kind of bananas situations. So, and I kind of got like, what else can I do? Like what? Like in the first one, I'm like, there's all this like prison rape and like, you know, like they're all murdering everybody. Like, what else can I do to these people? And so I don't know. Like I've started having to get kind of creative. So I don't know.
Where do you find that kind of inspiration, though? Do you just Google?
I would say from a lot of places. I've always liked to read horror, true crime. Most of the things I've ever read about happening to these people are something that I came across that happened pretty often, especially in that era. So like everything I wrote about Newgate Prison happened to somebody that I read about. Or same with most of the things. I try to keep it as real as possible to the research that I do of the time period. And then like emotionally, like I would say I do have some experiences that I can draw from, and I do have some. I worked in law enforcement for some time, like as a like a crime scene cleanup person. And so I saw a lot of people go through a lot of things, and so I wouldn't say that I felt exactly what they felt, but I would say that I watched them feel what they feel, so I can draw from that every now and again. And so, and the rest is just conjecture and imagination, you know. So
I appreciate.
And do you feel any pressure to be like 100% historically accurate, or do you like? Because I feel like that's like a conversation that like I see pop up every now and then. Historical romance, like how accurate do you have to be during the time? Are you allowed? Like, will people get angry if you like include something that like maybe like in like the next time period, like 5 years in the future? Will people? Do you find like sometimes those details like people get angry at you for like this is not realistic for this time period?
Yeah, I try to be as realistic as possible. But there have been things that like I've taken creative license on. I definitely would say that because I've been like, I want this to happen. I want to make this happen. Could it have happened? You know, like in The Duke with the Dragon Tattoo, he has a bathtub with running water on his steamship. And that was invented, but it wasn't like installed in any particular ship until like more the Titanic era. And so I was like, well, he's so wealthy and he's so well connected. Like I went and found who invented it, and he had invented it 5 years earlier. So I'm like, this guy obviously just knows him and has the hookup. So that's how you know what I mean? So like in my mind, like I do that, and then like if someone comes at me with this and says, I know that they didn't have bathtubs in steamships until 1914 instead of 1890, I would be like, well, actually, so there's like I do try to have that, you know what I mean? I do try, but there have been times when, like in The Highwayman, when Farrah and Morley go out on a date, like that wasn't really something that people did very often without chaperones and stuff. But they were just acting more like lower class people rather than higher class people. And I was like, and they can do what they want. And I've decided that that's what they're going to do. So then sometimes, you know, it depends.
It's interesting that you say that because I ended up reading yesterday, actually, Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. Is that how you say her last name? Mm-hmm. And she did a full chapter at the very end of her book explaining what she had changed, because I feel like people would have gotten mad if she ended up not doing it correctly. It was like a full 10 minutes of things she adjusted for the book of her purposes. And I'm like, That's really interesting that authors feel like they have to do that knowing that it's fiction.
Yeah.
Romance
But I
authors,
think-
though, because no one questions a dragon flying in the air. Like we
Right.
all imagine fantasy.
That's true.
But for historical,
Paranormal is so much easier because you can just shrug your shoulders and go like, because magic, get off me, you know?
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
it's just romance that people do that.
Well, Jack the Ripper too is a very specific, because I'm writing about him as well, and like he has such a huge, I want to say, fan base that like people dub themselves Ripperologists, and they spend so much of their time trying to figure out who he was and really going into the science of it and all of that. And so writing about him is actually kind of a little daunting because there's so much interest that people have already had and so many books already written on it. And a lot of our biggest fear is that they actually figure out who did it because then everybody's like, oh, well, now it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, it's not interesting anymore.
Yeah. But it makes sense that she did that so that she was like, I know this is wrong, everybody who's into Jack the Ripper that's going to email me, but like, I get why she covered her butt there.
This is a plug for Kerrigan. The Business of Blood is the book she's talking about, which you guys all need to go read because that is the next one I'm reading after the I don't even know how to say her last name. So I'm not
Maniscalco.
But I'm literally going to read that after I read her series because it's going to transition so well. So
yeah,
there you go.
And you have Justine Eyre narrating that audiobook, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
See, I pay attention to my narrators. Like I saw that, I was like, Kerrigan is like leveling up right
Kerrigan
here.
has
Justine
that.
Eyre, like
Yeah, she's
Justine
a
Eyre
big
narrates
narrator.
Joanna Shoup and Justine Eyre. That's how I know that narrator.
Mm-hmm.
Shameless
And
plug for the
Tessa
Uptown
Dare,
Girls
and
series.
she's done some of Sarah McLean's as well. And so when they signed with her, I was just like so starstruck. I'm like, I am not worthy. Like, are you kidding me? I was so excited.
Yeah. But getting back to the book, what do you guys think of our two main characters and kind of like this enemies to lovers type vibe we got going on here? And what do you think of like the boarding school, like you can call it, it's like / the sex club too a little bit. There's some like underhanded things going on, but I think it's a really cool idea showing like a place where women can like build livelihoods and carve out their own place in that society in that time. So Kerrigan, like, was that like something that you're always interested in kind of delving into? Because I think you, in the Duke, in the Victorian Rebels, you do have sex workers featured in that book as well. Was that something when you went to this book that you wanted to expand on?
Yes, quite a bit. Like I initially wrote the book that she was a virgin preacher's daughter who ended up inheriting a brothel. Like it was supposed to be just a complete total brothel. And I wrote it that way. And my editor came back after it was all finished and she said, you know, we're living in Trump's America right now and we are having a hard time selling something like this to Walmart and to some of the other bigger suppliers. And so like we cannot, it needs to be maybe a gambling hell or something like that, but like we kind of have to write the sex workers completely, like have that not be basically not a brothel. So I had to write that out of it. But I thought it was just really an interesting subject because I support them in that business and that work. And I know a lot of people from my childhood and from the place that I grew up who ended up going into that line of work. And then also when I was reading up on it at the time, it was so difficult for women to make a living. 1 out of 4 women in London was a sex worker. That's a fourth of the women who even lived there. It's like 1 million women or something. And so I was like, this is a huge story that's not being told about them, you know? So I did kind of want to go into that. And I wish I could have gone into it further, but I see myself doing that maybe in my Fiona Mahoney series, which is the Jack the Ripper, rather than romance. So.
Fist bump.
I know. I'm like super excited. I haven't read it yet. I need to read it.
That's fine.
It's on my immediate radar. I'm like, I need to get to this book at some point.
Oh, good.
And you have audio, so I can't use the excuse that I normally use. It's not an audio, sorry.
That's 100% my excuse. Yes.
So with your indies, do you find yourself like being able to explore more things than you would with your traditionally published books?
Yes. Which is really saves me creatively, I think.
Yeah, I was curious, like, how much say does your publisher have over what you write when you're writing it and submitting it?
Quite a bit. Like, they have to approve. Like, I turn in before I start a book, like a synopsis, so about 5 pages of what the book's going to be like and how it's going to end, and then she has to come back and say, don't put that in there, don't put this in there. Like, do you write about this? When I first started, I wanted the Victorian Rebels to be 3 books, and then I was like, next, and Carrie knows this, I've told this a bunch of times, but like, next I'm going to write about gladiators. I have this huge gladiator trilogy I want to get into, because I was watching like Spartacus or something, and I was like, this is 100% going to happen to somebody in my books. And my editor was like, no, you write Victorian romance now. Like, that's what you do. That's who you are. You're a Victorian. And I'm like, but I like all the histories. I like every history. And they're like, if you want to get crazy, you can do Regency. But that's about it. So I was like,
So crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But like 1800s forever. That's all you do. And I was like, okay, good to know. Thanks. But it makes sense. Like, it does make sense, because I was real salty about it for a second, and I had my diva moment about it. And then one of my other writer friends was like, what if you bought a Coldplay album and he decided that he was done being Coldplay and like wanted to be Metallica? Like, what would you do? You would throw that album in the trash. I was like, okay, nothing against Coldplay. I don't buy his albums. Like, I was like, but that was a good analogy for me. I'm like, I get it. Like, people start to be like, I'm buying this book because I know what I'm going to get, And so I started to have to think more about the business of writing than like, oh, I'm going to let my muse take me wherever I want to go kind of thing. So it makes sense.
Maybe like a pen name thing? Because I want to read it, because I still want to read that Gladiator series.
Me too.
Right. Yeah, I'd be 100% down for Gladiator.
Right.
It's going to happen. And I'll do it under Kerrigan Byrne, and I probably will do it indie as well, because I'm just into it.
I'm not going to lie. There was an author. I'm forgetting her name. I'm just trying to look it up right now, and I don't remember. You guys will know. She writes contemporary. She wrote Say You Still Love Me, but she's writing fantasy romance. She just dropped the cover 2 days ago.
Okay, Tucker.
Yeah. Thank you, K.A. Tucker. And literally, she writes contemporary. It was all contemporary, and now she's writing fantasy romance. So I'm like, girl, I am here for your Gladiator series.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Do it.
And some people can do it really well. Like Lisa Kleypas does it, like she did contemporary really well. If you're Nora Roberts, you can do it. Like, you kind of have to get, I think, to a certain echelon. And then people will be like, no, you tell me what you want to write, because people will just buy you off your name,
Mm-hmm.
So
that's me.
That's all of us. I think that's all of us.
Publish. If you self-edited whatever was hit on the editing floor, I would buy it, because I just I it all.
Thank you.
The darker the better.
Same.
Thank you. Okay. Well, it's happening.
Yeah. What was I had a question, but now I lost it.
Did we talk about the book yet?
No. I was going to find. I had a question to segue us back to the book.
Yeah.
And I lost it.
You
but
have
I know
to
the top 3 people love that book. What do you guys like about it?
Well, I like that it's dark. Oh, go soon.
No, go ahead, Tiffany.
No, I like that it starts that dark, and that her father chastises her for her femininity and basically terrorizes her, and then she grows up to be comfortable in her skin, to be this like not only voluptuous but like vibrant woman. And the best part about it is Ramsey's, he's drawn to her identity and her. And I love that it just unravels him. It just goes against all the order that he's trying to wrestle. And I'm like, he's here to save the kids. Like, I was just like legs open, like ready for him. I was like, you want to eat the chocolate. Eat the chocolate.
Lick it off my fingers.
So I love that. It was a great arc for her. And she wasn't willing to like give up her dreams for him. And the help that she would have provided all of those other women. I absolutely loved that as well. And she had to bend. And I'm like, so it was nice.
Yeah.
That's love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the moment where
I love like the moral. I keep cutting everyone off. I'm so sorry.
No, you go, Samantha. You go.
I love like the moral battle that Ramsey goes through of like what he feels like is good and what he was taught, but then that was kind of broken down. And even like, well, I don't want to do too many spoilers, but even like in his own institution, realizing that people that he admired weren't exactly what they appeared to be. And I love that conversation. I grew up very religious, so the idea of someone, like a woman being silenced because of some religious nature or for like what's good for a woman isn't so far-fetched. So I just loved reading about it.
Oh, good. Me too.
That was going to be the exact moment I pointed out, like when our Celia, Celia's her name, right? Our heroine for the second book, yes, I believe it's Celia.
It's Cecilia, but it's
Cecilia. Oh, yeah. I love the moment when she calls out Ramsey and is like, "Hey, like there's hypocrisy in your system too." I like that moment where there's good and bad in every institution, and I like that she points out that duality. Yes, she's like, yes, there may be some shady things happening in this boarding school, but also we're doing all this good for all these women. So I really like that. I really like that. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks,
and like, can we
one thing?
talk about the chemistry between these two characters? Like, I thought the first book was like already super steamy, and then the second book was like, dang. I was like, now I can see why everyone goes gaga over like Scottish Highlander romances. You put one in it, like I think almost everyone on this live show will be like, one click, or buy it from eBay.
Can I throw out one thing for this book? I love how she was just like, I love my body. I love that I'm a curvy woman and this is who I am and no body shaming happening. I am who I am. I'm going to eat these damn chocolates because I love them. And like, she's a voluptuous woman. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a voluptuous woman too. And I'm like, I can relate to you. Like, I've got a butt and I love it. You know, I'm never going to be a 2. It's never going to happen for me. I'm going to be a 6 and an 8. I'm going to be happy with that. I'm going to be like, I'm going to love my butt and that's that. And, you know, it made me feel like sometimes your books make me feel comfortable in my own skin. And if you could do that for me, I appreciate that.
That's the best thing anybody's ever said about them. Thank you.
Yeah, I think in general, body diversity is something that I will like just across the board in all romance. I think we're starting to see it more now, and like especially with Olivia Dade, as I pronounce her last name, in the contemporary space with spoiler alert, and you're starting to see it more and more in historicals. Like I still would like more. I still would like more curvy heroines on the cover because I definitely feel like not everyone in a romance is like always like so svelte, like impeccable shape. Like it's good to see the body diversity. And I like how you included that in this book, and it wasn't like you didn't have to deal with like the similar tropes like, oh, I hate myself, oh, I need to change myself. It was just like a character comfortable, because I feel like a lot of times with those narratives you have that additional sub narrative attached where the character has to hate, where the character has to like hate on themselves or like just deal with like someone judging them based on their body size. So I like that we just got a curvy, like a positive curvy heroine that just was.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And you just really so well.
I don't. I tried to with the next one too, because I have a sister where most of the kids in my family are kind of on the spectrum, but hers is a texture issue so bad. And so there are like 10 things in the world that she can eat. And so she's very, very thin. And she came to me too, because we were talking about that. And she's like, I never really read about girls who are like me, kind of androgynous and kind of stick thin and don't have. So I tried to do that with Francesca too, where I was like, you know what, if I'm writing this kind of like woman that I identify with, who's like, you know, voluptuous and kind of unapologetically will eat food in your face, like, I'm not getting a salad, I'm getting a smothered burrito. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what's gonna happen. It's gonna be covered in cheese. But also somebody else who might not feel feminine because or desirable. I know, I'm sorry. Sit down. Sorry, my dog's being like, she's like, pay attention to me. Because they don't have a super womanly figure. They don't have, you know, big bosoms and a, you know, and a butt that a guy wants to, like, you know, take a bite out of. She's just more athletic or whatever, you know. So I thought, okay, that's something maybe I don't identify with personally, but I think everybody should feel sexy, and everybody's somebody's type, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I definitely relate to Francesca because I've definitely got zero boobs and I've also got like really wide shoulders. So I definitely feel really masculine a lot. And like people have also said that. I'm just like, but I'm not. And it's just really nice because I do love Francesca. She was so like strong, but she was also just had that feminine side to her. And I really like seeing like both of the sides of her, and like this made me feel nice as well.
Oh, that's good.
That's good. Yeah. So I think that's a good segue. Thank you, Meg. To talk about something. Okay,
God,
I
like how
that was a good segue though, right? Like, I think that was a really good one. It just came up naturally.
Yes.
So I think this one is like the most romantic. Like I would call it almost like a historical romance suspense, almost because like it feels like it almost feels like I think I have not read a historical romance with like a big suspense element to it.
Yeah,
And I love this. And this prologue, when Declan, what happened to Declan? Yeah, Declan. I was like, I'm feeling like somehow he survived that, and then like, yeah. But I don't want to take up too much space. What did everyone think about the third and final book? Did you guys enjoy the mystery of it?
Can I
I
say
like this
love
one-
the mystery so much. I actually read this series backwards. I know that sounds like so crazy. I read them backwards. Yes.
Really?
So yeah, I got sent the arc for the third one, and I had the other two on my list, and I was just like waiting for them to all come out. And then I was like, should I just read this one like right now? And I love the cover so much. I fell in love with it. I was like, what? This cover just like got me. And I was like, I just want to jump into this one real quick. And I started the prologue, and I was just kind of like gonna take a little peek, and that prologue just like got me. I was like, what is happening right now? Crazy sauce. I'm like, he's definitely not dead. I need to find out what happened. So
Don't hate me, but I'm listening, but I'm also getting up so that I can let my dog out of the bedroom because she's just like upset about like.
Have fun. This is the most gorgeous.
Sorry.
My favorite.
so beautiful.
So you read the third one, the second, and then the first?
Yes, I read them backwards.
How was that experience? Because I feel like Francesca's book is like tease from the beginning.
It is. I mean, like obviously, you know, you're spoiled for the couples and stuff, but it's very interesting, like going backwards, because it's like whenever you see, you know, all the characters like popping up in the third one, it's like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like I see the groundwork being laid. And so I don't know, it's kind of fun reading backwards. I liked it. I don't normally do it. Normally I'm a stickler for reading in order, but for some reason I went backwards and it was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, it's interesting because Declan shows up at the end of book 2. So that's like the biggest tease. That was the main reason why I was so excited to get to book 3 because, you know, it's obviously going to be him with Francesca.
And she was badass. Like if there was the equivalent to the FBI, she would have been hired. I love that. So when you talk about her like body image and pairing it with that, I just like appreciate it even more because she was strong and tough as nails. And I think my favorite aspect about this book, like going back to their sisterhood and their friendship, I liked the conversation around her being happy for her friends and finding their, their husbands, right? But also sort of mourning that connection with them, because it was like, yes, she's happy for them and their families are now her family, but she can't rely on them in the same way because she's trying to protect them. And it's also like, I could kind of relate to that, like mourning that connection that like they were the group that was going to go against societal norms. And yet her friends found their HEAs and they're really happy, and her kind of being married to her vengeance. And like, so I really appreciated that conversation, because I think that happens. Like we're happy for our friends and they hit certain milestones, but at the same time, the connection changes, and she was really dealing with that. And I appreciated that element.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
I'm not gonna lie though, I like her aspect of her being almost like an assassin, because me, an assassin.
So cool.
Like, I am like here for it. I'm not gonna mention anybody who shall not be named, but I am here for assassins. I am absolutely here for assassins.
I am
Wink,
too.
wink.
Don't you dare, Carrie.
I didn't say anything, but I mean something.
Dude, she was pole vaulting. I was like, girl.
That part, Tiffany, that part. I think I actually like put the book down. I was like, whenever Declan realized, like, did someone just pole vault and like sneak through this window into this holding cell? And I was like, this chick is too badass for you. Like, I don't even know if you deserve her because she's just too badass. Right. I like loved her so much. I absolutely loved her character. She was so cool.
She's choking the guy out by his legs, her legs.
Yeah.
I mean, God.
Oh yeah. Like, I loved that. Was fun. I was really worried because I'm not her at all. Like, I'm very like conflict adverse and a cautious person, and like lazy also. Like, not athletic whatsoever. But I like, there's a part of me that wants that, like whenever I read those books about like the chosen one trope where like the girl goes out and saves the world, I'm like, yeah, I want to have some like badass destiny, but also refer to the smothered burrito comment. Like I would rather have a smothered burrito than a badass destiny, and that's on me, but like I wasn't in a super romancy place when I wrote this, I think, and so I got really excited about like, I'm writing this badass woman, and sometimes I worry that I didn't do their romance as much justice as I did the other two, but there we are. They have their own story.
I think the individuality makes it special. Like if they're all the same, I think each individual one has a special quirk to it. And for her, she's just a badass spy. And I'm like, I'm here for that for sure. 100%.
I did like how it reminded me a little bit of like the Scott Bed's His Wife, in the sense that I was like cheering for the heroine because she was not going to be wooed by sex. You're not going to distract me from the goal. I would have been. So I'm like, do it, But I really appreciated that. He wasn't going to be able to do it that way, so he kept trying to have to like pivot and maneuver. And like she had just as many cards to kind of hide that than as he did. So they were formidable about it.
Thank you.
And the underground society. Oh, I need you to do like a mini series on that. Like,
me too. I need more information.
Yes.
Like, this is like, and like,
I wanted to go so much deeper in that. I'm like, this is not that book, but I wanted it to be.
Yes, please. Like a movie club that, like, in criminal enterprise, and like, we know that room exists. We know that exists now, and it's existed since the 700s.
It could be one of many chapters.
Like the skulls meets, like, we need that. So that's my request.
I'm about it. Eyes wide shut.
I was listening to this on audio, like in my car, and I parked in a GP surgery when that scene was happening, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to like park and get my headphones in because I'm not playing this out loud. Because It's like some gentleman walking to like get their bloods checked or something. It's like, yeah, let's just turn this down.
Not safe for work. Not safe for work.
I work on a computer all day, so I listen to all my audiobooks when I'm working too. And especially when I was in the office, you know, before the pandemic, people would always be like, "What are you reading?" And I'm like,
My
Love
grandmother
that shall not be named.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
What were you saying, Tiffany? I missed that. I'm sorry.
It was my grandmother's 96th, and I got to see her, and she kept stopping me and asking me, what is she wearing? Because you know she shows up in the outfit like towards the end, and he's like,
oh yeah,
and she's like, say it again. So my nana loved it. It was very like party aspect, and I had to repeat parts, so that was a lot of fun.
My husband's grandmother is the only family member of mine who ever read my books. And like I have moments, she passed recently, but like I had moments when I was writing that I'd be like, oh, grandma's gonna read that. Like I couldn't, like I wish she was not going to. Like, not comfortable.
My nana loves it.
I'm so glad.
To a comfortable degree though. Like,
I don't lie. When I'm 96,
I don't want to discuss it. We don't need to.
Yeah.
When I'm 96, this is what I'll be reading. So I'm just gonna let my people know. Buy me, go to the romance aisle and buy me something, okay?
Well, and truthfully, I mean, the historical romance audience is generally older than maybe like the contemporary romance audience, just as a whole, you know.
Yeah. That's how we all
actually had somebody come up to me at Book Bonanza. I was one of the only historical romance authors there. It was in Texas, and most of them were paranormal and contemporary. And one of the ladies came up to me and or somebody's assistant came up to me and was like, "I'm glad you're here. Now all the older people have somewhere to go." And I was like, "Yeah, that's right, but also kind of ouch."
No,
no, know what that means, but okay, like.
Nope, we're all under 90 here.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh, wait, one more thing I have to tell you. I love the relationship between Francesca and Ramsey.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you guys, I was like, this is just so like just sweet.
Yeah,
you have like an edge to them. I just love that, like their form of like love, and him constantly letting her know like we are your family.
Yeah,
that was adorable.
Yeah, I love that too.
I also loved, I don't know if we mentioned this, I love how all of the women were so smart. We had an archaeologist, we had her decoding mathematics, and then Francesca was using like these magical potions. I just felt like they were so smart in everything that they did in every interaction, and I loved it. I loved it so much.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, because I have to admit, I just read a book. I'm not going to mention it because...
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention it. But the heroine didn't really have the common sense that I needed, okay? Okay, Charles, don't worry. I'm not going to...
I feel like I warned Carrie beforehand to everyone like to not mention this author. And she's like,
do not be
mention it without mentioning.
Here's the thing. My heroines have to be smart. And when they don't have that common sense, it really bothers me. Like, you lose stars. You lose like half stars for sure. Like, especially if they're supposed to be certain pirate captains. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah.
I'll like trying to figure out.
I know we're all like,
I don't want to.
Everybody else will know once I do my vlog, but I'll DM you.
Okay.
Oh my.
Well, I have to talk with you. I want to ask you about your telephone research because I thought that was really cool. Like, how did you like go about like incorporating that and like figuring out what to put in and what not to, or what was your research around like the telephone being new? And I love how frustrating it was for her.
She's like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to have like a theme for this series was that like, even though we're 100 or over 100 years apart from these women, like they deal with a lot of the same things, you know? And I do this with Fiona too, that they're going through an industrial revolution while we're going through kind of a digital, well, we've gone through it, but we're still kind of going through this like digital revolution. And it makes everything so much faster, and people like, I'm a millennial, kind of like I'm kind of weirdly between like Gen Z and being a millennial. And so it's like, I remember learning how to type on a typewriter, but I also like am so plugged in, you know? And so it's like, I wanted that for them too, a little bit, where they had to be like, I can call you on the phone now, and this changes everything. Kind of, you know? And so that's something I want to play with a little bit more. When technology, like how technology changes their world, because it changes ours so much, and it makes things so complicated, but also more awesome and kind of sexier. Like I was thinking about a phone sex situation, but I didn't have time. I'm gonna put that somewhere. That's happening somewhere.
Another scene for your self-edited, self-published.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's interesting with like, especially with like more contemporary books, like thrillers or like anything with like a type of venture book. They always usually take technology off the table. They come up with some reason like saying like, oh, all the phone lines are disconnected in a thriller. Like, oh, the internet is down. Oh no, their magic interferes with their cell phones. That's why they can't talk. Like, I get like how it's cool, awesome, but I feel like from a plot construction, I feel like you have to be more a step ahead to like include technology, because like it can kind of ruin, like I can see a reader going like, well, why didn't this person just call this person and tell them to get out of the house?
Well, that's what this shows, like Vampire Slayer. Like when I first saw that movie, I'm like, like today watching it, I'm like, half of this could have been, you know, solved with she just paged him. You know what I'm saying? Like we just had a cell phone, but it makes it work harder.
Yeah. Well, it's like I've been doing a lot of serial killer research, and like so many serial killers were super active in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s because they could be. People couldn't call for help. People were still like hitchhiking. I mean, there was no GPS. There was none of that, and like we really are so much safer now. Like so much safer, and it's so much harder to get away with crimes. You know. Sorry, that's not very romantic, but here we are.
But that's we feel good.
Like all I want from you, I want you to go like give me like a full like Gone Girl thriller, but make it romance and do a contemporary. Like that would be, if you did that for me, like I would die. I would die happy. I would be like, this is the book I've been waiting for from Kerrigan. I was like, give me that.
In the middle of talking to my editor about that right now. So.
Okay.
Ooh. Are there any other like upcoming releases that you can tease? We know the sequel to Business of Blood, and then you have the Good Girl series. I think book 2 is already out. I think book 2 has already come out, right?
Yeah, book 3 actually. Book 3 came out.
Book 3.
And then book 4 is coming out in May. And this one was fun because it was a guy who used to fight in the fighting pits. His name is Gabriel, and he was hit by a 2x4, and he had his entire nose like ripped off, like his cheek was totally, like his ocular cavity was totally, and he had a rhinoplasty. So the doctor from Courting Trouble, who's the hero, learns about plastic surgery, and then I got to do a lot of fun research about like they were doing skin grafts. And there was a lot of syphilis at the time, so they were doing tons of nose jobs, and it was really crazy because they didn't know how to do a nose job without having the skin fed by blood. So they would craft you a new nose, and then they would grab the skin from like under your arm, and it would be still attached to your arm while they attached it to your nose. And so you had to be like have your nose in your armpit for like 2 weeks. While it was like fixing it's so, and they like had braces and stuff. It's so crazy, but it worked. And I saw like a lot of the before and after photos, and I'm like, this actually looks pretty good. And so this guy in Kerrigan Byrne, like he's walked around with this like fucked up face. Oh, I don't know if I can swear on it.
Go ahead.
His whole life, and then he had plastic surgery, and like he fixed most of his facial issues, and now he has a nose, which congratulations. So he's sort of like he's like my 30-year-old virgin, because he's always been so sad and gross kind of, and so like, and now he's like kind of not, and so he's he gets his story, he gets his happily ever after. I told you I'm running out of things to do to people. So, like,
I want to let you know, Kerrigan, I am so excited about Gabriel's book. I'm like, I feel like I just got so many spoilers from you. I'm like trying to listen, like if you're going to give me another spoiler or not, but like I love Gabriel's book because of what happened to his face and the doctor that we saw in the book before. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I mean, you learn all of that in like the chapter 1, kind of at the end of the 3rd book, because sorry
that's
about
okay. Anything else you want to give me? You go on ahead. Anybody spoilers coming? Kerrigan's going to be some spoilers.
I won't tell you.
And do you have anything coming out from St. Martin's for us? And later this year or early next year?
Not later this year. I think if anything, it'll be 2022, because we're doing a little bit of a because of a conflict. Like I'd signed a contract with a whole new series, and unbeknownst to us, somebody else sort of pitched and signed a similar contract about a similar series that will be coming out sort of with a similar theme that would be coming out a little bit. We would be fighting each other. And so now we're kind of back to the drawing board a little bit, because it's not exactly what I wanted to do in the first place. And I am really feeling, I don't know if it's this like panorama or whatever, but like I'm really feeling doing something a little dark and murdery. So I think that's where we're going next.
Blood play?
Ooh.
Huh?
Any blood play?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. I'm just putting that into your brain.
Planting the seed.
Processing.
Plant that and let it grow.
Tiffany just like whispering ideas like body worship. Include that. Like we read Kerrigan mix, we're like blood play.
I've like always I mean, I've wanted to like explore that historically, but also like if I have, a lot of my alpha readers have been like, I don't know if the world is ready for this. And it's like, okay,
I can see that,
but I don't know. Not the whole world, but I mean, because they are.
Yeah.
We've all read those books, but like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I've for some reason I got scared to go there. I don't know why.
Yeah, I feel like more people who read more indie authors, they're a little bit more comfortable pushing the boundaries than people who only stick to traditional published books. Like I think a lot of people who read like the traditionally published books, like if I gave them like Katie Roberts, like her Air series, they would be like,
oh yeah,
what is like what is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The Treacherous Trade, though, that's still coming out September 2021 or September 2021, right?
It might be pushed back closer to Christmas.
Okay.
So yeah.
And that's book 2
like
in the Business of Blood series.
Yeah, there's a longer date right now on, like it says it's coming out in March of next year on the pre-order, but that is not correct.
Okay.
But then I'm also like, who knows what's gonna happen? So like, I'm just gonna leave that for a bit, just in case. Like, an emergency happens. But no, I'm still planning on having it out before the year's done. So
Okay, cool. I'm just writing them down. So
we're ready. So we're ready. And if you want to send me arcs, if you just send me the audiobooks when they're ready.
Okay, yeah.
I was gonna say send me the arcs, but I was like,
Charles just slips that in there.
The audiobooks drop.
I actually have several Business of Blood audiobook codes. So I'll give you one of those, and then I think I have a couple of others. I'll have to go look, but I do.
If you send those to me, I will be internally grateful.
That's totally fine. Okay.
I can't believe that worked, Charles.
I know. I can't even tell you.
Hey, I'm an audiobook channel. It would be like off-brand for me not to mention it. Like it'd be weird if I told Kerrigan it's like I physically read all these books and I did not listen to the audio. I'm like,
really?
I'll be like, get out of here.
Audiobooks are really good. I'm surprised, Charles.
Yeah.
Oh, I listened to them.
No, we did. Yeah.
I read.
Yeah, I didn't.
I read them all in audio.
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah. I think sometimes. I mean, I know a lot of writers who are doing that almost exclusively. I am like I mostly read audio these days because like my eye holes don't want to look at words anymore at the end of the day, but I want to still read. You know, so I've been listening to a ton of audio.
Yeah.
I just love
I tend to skim.
Scottish accent in the audiobooks. I listened to this one and his Scottish accent. Sweet baby.
So
Sweet baby.
Oh yeah. So good.
Especially in the Highwayman Man when he's like, "We do not need priests." I was like, "Yes, tell her."
I'm going to claim and say I fold about 200 loads of laundry. So since I fold about 200 loads of laundry, I've got those audio buds in, being like, sure as I'm folding, but yes, at least I'm getting entertained as I do it.
Yes, that's amazing.
How do you build relationships with your narrators? Like,
yeah,
how does that process work?
I've only had one for a long time.
Love him.
Which is Derek, and he started. He was like this dapper businessman who retired and got up on ACX and just decided that he wanted to do audio. And so I reached out to him because I loved his snippets that he put out there. And then he was like, "Oh, I've never read romance before," and I was like, "Never mind." Like, like, just kidding. And he was like, "No, I would love to try it." And I was like, "Okay." So I was like, "How often are you comfortable with saying the word cock in a day?" You know, and he's like, "Very comfortable." I'm European. Because he's like Welsh and his wife's Irish, and he's just like, "I'm European," and we call each other cocks and cunts all the time. It's no big deal. And I was like, "Okay, but what if they're like pulsing or throbbing and or doing naughty things to other people?" And he's like, "Throw it over here. It's cool. I'm really interested." So we started doing it, and he was like, at first he would send me emails like, tell me if I did that okay, or like I didn't have to turn the heat on in the booth today. Like they're just really cheeky, and he's such a gentleman. Like he's like such a gentleman, and and then I have those moments too where I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna make Derek say that later," and I feel weird about it. But I've been with him for 10 years now, and then I actually made friends with Stella Hunter because I'm really interested in doing this duet that the Good Girls have been doing. So she and Derek work together, and I love it. I love it. So that's all I have for that.
It's so funny. Most people are worried about their grandparents. You're worried about the audiobook person.
You're worried about the narrator, like,
oh no. I mean, nothing embarrasses me except for when I hear him read my books back to me. Like sometimes I have to stop the sex scenes and be like, "Please, I can't. Like I can't tell you." I don't know why.
Oh no, I'd probably be the same way.
Listen to one of your audios, but now I think I need to.
Lacey, off this live, you never listened to any of our audios?
No, I've always read them.
She's
Reading
like,
them
"Look,
good
Rob,
too, though, honestly.
I was mad."
Lacey, I thought we were friends. I thought we were friends, and like you tell me this. That hurts.
The problem is,
That hurts.
kids, I would love to read her books, but if I didn't listen to audio, I wouldn't be able to read them. So literally with 3 kids tying me up, it's literally like, thank God my earbuds are in my ears. Like,
He's so good. Like he switches in and
so
out
good.
so well. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah,
And
he's-
I don't mind Derek in my ear reading Steam. I
no,
love
a little bit. But your Christmas one was really good too. Who was that? Wes? I forget his name. I wrote it down the other day.
Oh, Shane East.
Shane East. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was really
yeah.
good. So if you ever meet
He did a good
another, like 3 people to do one book, he would always be a good step in.
Carrie,
Well,
did
I'm
you just say
thinking
3
about-
people? Are you doing a menage?
Well,
I
no,
mean,
Are you continuing?
I mean, I really,
I heard like
Like,
really,
is Kerrigan doing a menage now?
yes.
Yes.
Well, I think definitely one of the good girls is going to be a good guys. So, the dance, dealing with the devil is going to be a male. So maybe I'll have to do both of them.
Ooh, I would love that.
Ooh.
Hands down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested. You piqued my interest. You give me like an MM or an FF or a menage. I'm like, okay, tell me more.
Yeah.
I'm like, tell me more.
I really want to write a menage. Like,
Do it.
I'm very interested. I'm very interested in that. So
You don't even have to publish it. You could just send us like a short story, and I'll be fine. I would actually read it.
Charles, I love you.
it's gonna happen. It'll happen.
We want all of
Yeah.
the unedited bits that your publisher said were too dark. Just
Mhm.
send them our way.
Thank
I
you.
want the unedited version of this. I
Ma'am.
want to see what you were going to do originally.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's ridiculously changed. Just a couple of things.
Mhm.
Just a couple of things.
Would they not allow you to do like a menage, or is that too like not brand for them? I mean, what are the stipulations?
I don't think it's very mainstream. So if I did, they might be like, well, we do a digital only or
Mhm.
in an anthology, but probably not. Like, I don't know very many mainstream romances that aren't just 2 people getting together.
Right.
Yeah,
more
that's
than
true.
2 people
I don't
getting together.
Yeah, I don't think I've read any that are traditionally published that are menages.
But like they should be.
There are
I
some,
remember.
There's
Yeah,
I-
there are a couple.
It's some, but like not a ton.
Samantha, I feel like you would have good recommendations for that. I'm
That's
not gonna
my
lie.
favorite trope. The more people, the better. Like, just so don't even tease me with that. Strange Grace was traditionally published, but that leans more fantasy, I guess.
Oh, yeah, you can
Mm.
get away a little bit more with that in paranormal and fantasy, for sure.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking around. I'm like Lacey, Justin, Tiffany. Like you all would have recommendations for that as well. I'm like, I'm looking around. I'm like, oh
I
man,
love a good polycule.
Charles.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I definitely
Yeah.
love those too. But
Right.
I mean, it's so much easier to find them in indie romance because it's just like she said, there's nobody saying, hey, maybe you should like tone it down, and you can just kind of like do whatever you want. You can go as
Yeah.
crazy as you want.
Yeah,
That's so true.
yeah, sure.
That's why I think hybrid is a good place to be right now, because then I can kind of like play in either world, you know.
and if you did that, would you do that as indie? Because as indie, you wouldn't have like the stipulations of like your publisher taking things out at that point.
Yeah, I'd have to. I think I don't think they would buy a book that was a menage
Okay,
for me.
I'm just
So,
curious.
yeah.
You had mentioned,
Which I think they would rather.
yeah, you had mentioned anthologies. Have you ever considered going back? I know a lot of people who are like, are infamous for like one series. Have you ever considered going back and visiting like the Victorian rebels in an anthology? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, like I think I have some stories there that were not finished, and so that I thought we were maybe going to write I was going to get another 3 books, you know. So I was going to do Morley, and I was going to do Callum and Allison and Sebastian and Veronica. Yeah. And so I still need to write those.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be an anthology project. Yes.
I'm waiting for Sebastian's. I'm not gonna lie. I want a ship. I want Sebastian to be on the ship. I want her looking through the peephole again.
Yeah, that peephole scene.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was setting it up. I was setting it up or something. So I was really bummed, you know. And then this Good Girl thing took off, and I needed to get through that, but I want to get back to the Victorian Rebels, and I just do feel like there's unfinished business there. So I need to go redeem Sebastian at least.
Right. It's okay, Kerrigan. I'll be here for the next 10 years. So at least give me 10 years to go.
Carrie will just be waiting, like, when is it coming out? When is it coming?
Okay, but even though it's audio, I do pick up some physical. I didn't read this physical copy. I just pick it up to have it, but I read the audiobook, so it's like it just sits here to look pretty. But like literally, I read you all on audio.
Well, some of the covers are impossible to find now, especially the Victorian Rebels series. I feel like I can never find them.
I can't find the Duke.
The Duke and the Highlander have been pushed to print on demand. And so it's basically kind of like they ran out of mass market paper books, they sold them all. But they weren't selling enough copies to do a reprint of all the mass, like another 10,000 or whatever, like another, you know. So now it's print on demand. And when publishers do print on demand, they're very expensive, like $22 for a book.
I swear I bought like the last Highlander book because right after I bought it, it went sold out and it just never showed up again.
Yeah, so it's there, like it's there. The paperbacks will be, and they're big too, because like I ordered one, because I was like, I gave away my copy, my mass market paperback copy, and I like to have just a bookshelf with one copy of each book that I've just had, you know. So I was like, oh, I'll just order one, and I know it's $20, but whatever. And I did it, and it's trade paperback sized, like it's big. So
is it like an indie book?
No, it's just
Are they like the larger ones, like how the Duke and I was just a little bit larger?
Yeah.
Oh,
just bigger.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I mean, I was fine with it, and I'm not OCD or anything, but I was kind of like, well, now it's like taller. Like it's on my bookshelf.
Classic book problems.
Well, I'm that would bother me.
It would bother me to know it. I would have to rebuy all of them that size. Or it would bother me.
I have a hard time putting yours on the shelf anyway, because sometimes you could tell I was having fun with this. Like this was a little bit more orderly, and so they like bend on the shelf. But that's okay.
That's amazing. I love that you do that.
Yeah, but Kerrigan, I also want to ask you, what are some romances that you are loving right now that you want to recommend?
Ooh, that is a great question. I have been reading Stacey Hart's Bet the Farm, which is really funny. It's like a really lighthearted, like fish out of water. Like her grandpa left her a dairy farm, but she's lactose intolerant, and she got like 51% of it, and 49% of it belongs to this like guy that her grandpa kind of took in, and he's you know, the grizzly old, like, not old, he's young and hot, obviously, but like, he's just like, he's ornery, you know, and I have a thing for those ornery heroes. And she comes in and she's just like in pink galoshes, like, yeah, fucking milk some cows, you know, and it's just so cute and funny. And
so it's a Grumpy and Sunshine. He's Grumpy and she's Sunshine. That's like my favorite. I love those so much. So cute.
So I've been reading that one, and romance-wise, I think that's kind of it. Like, I've been reading a lot of not romances lately. So.
Is it true that an author has to, like, not read as much because they're writing their own stuff and they're afraid, like, subconsciously they'll write into other things? I'm just curious about the myth.
I think I know that some authors do feel that way. Like my best friend is a writer and she doesn't read in the genre that she's currently writing in, because she writes in a couple of different ones because she doesn't want to be derivative. I don't feel like I fight that so much. Like I'll read whatever, but I'll also just kind of I'll just admit that, like, oh well, this is inspired by that. Like I kind of rip off all my ideas if I'm honest, like I'll be watching a TV show and be like I've told you this before, Carrie, but like when I was writing Argent, like I was watching Dexter at the time, so I'm like, well, I want to write a red-haired assassin that's hot, and then I did. So like so I think I don't.
Because you knew you could do it better. Like that's reality.
No, it's not better.
Reality is you can do it better.
So I think it just I accept that we're all a little bit derivative of everything we consume, and it doesn't bother me as much. But I do know a lot of authors are very, very, very careful about that. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay, so are there any more questions for Kerrigan before I wrap us up? Any burning questions? Any tea that you want to?
Too much. Like, sorry guys.
I can do this all night.
I know. I really can't hang out with her all night.
You guys are so fun. Can we do this like every week? It's so fun.
Yes. If you supply me with audiobooks, of course I'll be
there. Oh my gosh. Too much.
I have to. It's my thing. If I start reading physical books, then I lose my audiobook status.
That's true.
I need to keep that identity for myself.
This is true.
Like I need to stand firm. But
it is your thing.
It is my thing. Like audiobooks are amazing. 3.5 is the only listening speed that I accept. Everyone needs to.
It's incredible.
That's crazy.
It's literally just too much. Like I'm at a 2.0. What are you at? 2.5? Like
I've gotten up to a 2.5, but it's taken a while. Like,
it depends on the narrator too, and if there's accents as well. Sometimes I'll have to slow it down. If I feel like the narrator, sometimes they'll pick it up with dialogue if the character has an accent, and so I'm like, okay, we need to bring it down a notch. It just depends.
Yeah, I range from 2.0 to 3.0, but never 3.5. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
I complain to Libro FM to like, where's the 3.5 option? And then they put it in the next app update. I think it was just because I complained about it. I was like, I'm going to Audible if you don't give me 3.5. Like, what is this?
I'm gonna be like in the corner, rocking back and forth, being like 3.5, 3.5. He's gonna listen to it on 3.5. Like, I don't know. That's okay. I need to process that.
The process so fast though. At 3.5, you have to listen. Like you are literally like processing that at the speed of like sound. I would just want to be like, it's going.
I don't think I could multitask with 3.5 speed because I mean that's why I do audio is because I'm working and stuff. So I definitely have to be able to listen to it at a speed where I'm not like, okay, wait, hold on, stop everything so I can concentrate. What are these characters saying?
Yes.
Especially with Scheme, I slow that down.
Well, do you ever feel like it messes with the performance at all to like make it super fast?
A lot of people say that, but I haven't found that to be true.
I haven't found it.
It actually works better when it's a little bit faster instead of like listening at like the 1 or 1.5. It's a little bit too slow.
I can't listen to it at regular speed.
When I listen to samples, it's so painful now.
Really?
It is.
Please.
Yes.
I feel like you guys just changed my life and I don't have to spend 10 hours listening to a book.
Yeah, you don't.
No. Get to 2.5 and then that's like a
especially if it's like informational. You know it's just gonna be a bunch of like information you're gonna need. Like speed that up to get to like the good parts. Like then I slow it down to 2.0. like my girl Tiffany said, and then like speed that crap up to the next location you need to go.
Do you guys ever listen to the audiobook when you're reading? Like as you're reading?
I do. I love it. I love that.
I have the
can't.
physical or ebook and audio and every. I
Oh, really?
talk like we're friends. I'm always like talking to you, Kerrigan, when I'm reading these. So I like to listen and read.
That makes me happy.
I will live vicariously through all of you guys that are able to do that one day with kids. That will not be the case. You'll be like, oh my gosh, what is happening at this point?
is
As
true.
you have about this. You're like, oh my gosh.
I'm childless and I don't sleep. So I think that's probably
That is, I confirmed this with Tiffany. She's like, I'm like, how are you reading so many books? She's like, I don't sleep. I was like, I feel that. I get that.
Well, it's funny
I
because
get
I
that.
always am DMing Tiffany late, and I'm like, I know she's up. I know she's there.
She's awake. She's awake.
On the
We can
same
keep each
road.
other company, Tiffany, because I don't sleep either. But I don't stay up reading late. I watch TV late. Like I read during the day, or I listen to audiobooks during the day. But if I'm up at night and it's like 2 a.m, I'm watching TV. So I'm always asking people, like, have you watched this? Have you watched this? And I'm like, I've literally watched all of the TV.
Me too.
I watched all of the British TV at least. So
yes. I started watching Absolutely Fabulous again, and it's just so nostalgic for me.
Yeah, I love this too. Okay, I think I think my husband's about to murder me and bury me in the backyard.
Yes.
Use that for your next book.
Yes. So I will wrap this up. Everyone's links will be down in the description box down below. Thank you, Kerrigan, so much for coming on my channel. You are always welcome back with audiobooks. That's a caveat. Just kidding. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys with a brand new video. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, here.